You know,
You know?
you're looking very Hollywood today. I got to tell you.
Now the glasses will come off once we start.
I like them. I think you may want to keep going with them.
All right, I'll go with it then. Fine.
I
You
haven't
doing?
seen that side of you before.
No, there is no side of me. There is really nothing you haven't seen. You've seen it all.
Yeah, I know. I know. Well, I appreciate you coming on today. Are you working today? Are you in the office or are you home? Home office.
No, I'm in the office.
Okay.
I haven't been here much. A little bit here and there. Actually, I came in today because we're trying to come up with a plan, like, not as deep as Trump's plan, but, trying to figure out our go forward plan here.
I think a lot of people are trying to figure things out right now.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm just
But the only thing you can do for sure is get change of $1. That for sure you can get. Other than that, I don't know.
yeah. No, that's true.
Yeah.
So I'm starting this show. It's called the Becoming a Champion Show, and I figured I'd reach out to all the champions that I know, and I put you at the top of the list.
Well, thank you.
Can you believe that?
Well, I feel like I have a little slice, of seeing you grow and all the stuff you're now doing, and I love it every time I see you doing some of the things you're doing because you definitely moved to your discomfort. We were able to talk you into doing stuff that you definitely didn't want to do.
Yeah.
And now you just do it instinctively, and I love that.
I'm trying to think of your spirit every time I do it. Just live in that discomfort.
You're in a good place, though. I mean, you understood that your relationships in the past can help you in the future, and you have your own spin, and you've had an effect on some of these things that have been pretty monumental, and now you're able to elaborate on them and tell those stories, which I like. That's what it's about, man.
When you're around great people day in and day out, you learn quite a bit. If you're watching and listening, you could really take that the distance and help a lot of people.
It's true. It's true.
Yeah. And I mean, that's been a lot of our journey. It's been a lot of working together, learning from each other. And I've definitely learned a lot from you. And every time I'm looking to do something in terms of, branding, marketing, or growth, I sort of have my bracelet of like WWBD, right?
And what's crazy is when you think about it, it's like, you never know who's going to really be the person to have that effect. Like, I never would have met you, even though I met you at Yankee Stadium when I came out with my second book. But then when I was really feeling unhealthy, I call up Mariano. I go, Mariano, do you know of like a trainer? Because I'm figuring, who's in better shape than him?
Yeah.
Oh, you got to go see Dana. You got to go see Dana. I'm like, thank God. And that day, I can remember like it was yesterday. I walked in there, or I should say crawled in there. And then he just looked at me. I said, oh, man, this is not good. He's not looking at me right. And he said, don't do anything.
just hurt yourself. Let's go to work on you right now.
And I tell people all the time, it's like, what do you think I should do? I said, what you need to do is just stop what you've been doing, and then you figure out a plan to go forward, because whatever I was doing, even though my own mind and my own spirit, I thought I was doing some good for myself, but I wasn't. And that was the aha moment, is to realize that even though you're really working hard, doesn't mean that you're working smart and you're doing the right thing. I've seen a lot of people not only sprint, think they have, and then not only sprint, but in the wrong direction and enthusiastically.
Yeah.
Like, I used to work out and eat a big bowl of, sugar frosted flakes after I worked out.
Yeah, you had to get those carbs, right before you work out. You got to carb up, get yourself ready to go.
No, I eat it after I worked out.
Oh, okay. Some people eat it before and after. They think they're about to go run a marathon. Meanwhile, they're about to do 30 minutes, on the bike and watch, Kelly and what's his name?
Yeah, Kelly and
Ryan.
Oh God. When I want to watch some brainless TV, that's where I go.
Yeah, no, me too. But I think, there's a lot of executives that are sort of in your position, and, they start off in business, and, all they see in front of them is business. And, you have that picture that I always like to look at in the gym of you. Maybe, how old were you in that picture? You know the one that I'm talking about.
Was it the one I'm with my son for the championship game, or?
Yeah.
I think I'm like, I got to believe that I'm 94. So that was like in 2005. So I was 50, like I was like 45.
Yeah. So
On
what
my
I
way to
always
a
found,
heart attack.
yeah, I found that picture always really interesting because I said, man, look at this guy that I'm working with right now. And the guy in the picture looks older than the guy that's probably 20 years older than that picture.
You know that song, If I Could Turn Back Time?
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
go to the gym.
Yeah. So, but in that picture, your headspace was probably all about, I got to build my company, build my business, and I'll sacrifice a lot to do that, which you have to do. But
Yeah, I mean, you know, it's a constant battle to make those kind of decisions, I think. And the way I look at it's like this is, and really when I look at all the motivation and different roads, I think what got me to extraordinary was not my ability to do one thing or another. It's really my focus on not accepting where I was at. Like I didn't get healthy, even though I knew all the things what to do to get healthy. And I'd even gotten a trainer, Dana, even as early as when I was 40. But I didn't have the highest level of non-acceptance necessary to achieve success. I was willing to accept too many days, too many months where I was at. And when I look at my business track record, what was fierce about me was that I just was not willing to accept. People say, you're never satisfied. I'm like, yeah, I'm not accepting this. I know we could do better. I know we could do more. And when you look at the great ones, you know, Kobe or Jordan or Jeter, you know, it's not that they're not doing great, but they're not that interested in accepting where they're at. Because when you have a high level of non-acceptance, it takes you to commitment. Because you need commitment, really. And commitment leads you to like, okay, now explain to me what I got to do. So you get an understanding and you really agree what you're going to do. And then you get passionate about it. You get excited. You try to go pull everything you can, people you know, whatever you need to do to get what you want. So you're not going to be miserable and not, you know, you move away from the unacceptance. Then you redo it all over again. But I think what happens with people is they're looking for passion. You know, they flirt with the word commitment. But when you are not accepting, you know, when you have a boyfriend or girlfriend, you're not accepting the way that person's treating you. Or you're at a job and you're not getting paid what you think. Only until you say, you know, I'm not accepting this anymore.
yeah,
Will something change? And that's a key ingredient. You know, we talked about commitment and passion before, and agreement and understanding what's necessary to get to the next level is really important, because if you don't really agree, then you're at a little bit of a standstill. But it starts with non-acceptance.
yeah,
Because there's nothing else that comes more stronger than in your mind say, I'm not taking this crap anymore. I'm not accepting it. This result's just not acceptable.
yeah,
And that kind of, you know, that's a hell of an initiator, you know, and it leads to a lot of motivation when you just say, stick your head out the window and say, I'm not going to take this anymore. Because it'll lead you towards committing to do whatever it takes. And if you don't have that kind of level going on, that conversation going on, then, you know, you're really headed to mediocrity, or definitely not nearly going towards, you know, ultimately the kind of person that you ultimately could be.
yeah. And I'm guessing for you, you know, one of my favorite stories that you always tell is about the refrigerator light. You know, I'm guessing that this all started for you back in Brooklyn as a kid. When it, you
Well,
know,
you try to use what's happened in your past. I mean, there's two directions you can go in. You know, you try to use your past to elevate and motivate your future, but you don't want to get stuck in your past. And I think a lot of times your past can guilt you into feeling like, you know, maybe I don't deserve this, given where I come from, given the bad hand, whether you had a broken marriage when you were a kid growing up or something dramatic happened. A lot of times that can hinder you. You know, I'm watching this show, All American, on Netflix. Have you seen that show?
no, I got to watch it.
It's not necessarily high level adult TV, but it's
Perfect.
kind of fascinating for any teenager to watch it, because it's, instead of the good and evil, it's kind of the rich and poor. And it's got a fabulous, in my mind anyway, the lesson of really looking at the rich versus the poor, the gifted versus, you know, the kid who doesn't get anything. And I can really relate to it because, you know, I was in so many situations where I dealt with kids that had a head start. They had a lot more than I did. And it really does. And what happens with this one kid is that he's guilted by his past. He's guilted where he comes from. And it's holding him back to ultimately going to get what he can go get for his future. He's a tremendous athlete, but he feels this guilt and this, you know, he feels this kind of this where he came from and all the people from his past, he feels this obligation to them. And I think we all do. Like, it's very hard to break out of that neighborhood and that community and that mindset of what you got born in on. And it took me a while. Like, I felt really guilty about going to Syracuse. And sometimes when I moved up to Scarsdale, living in a bigger house, like, I felt guilty about it for a while.
Yeah.
Like, growing up in a 450 square foot apartment with 3 brothers, one small little bathroom and a 200 square foot bedroom with the 3 of us in there. Like, all of a sudden now I'm in that. But I think it's really important to know that separate it. That's my past. That was what it was. I didn't necessarily pick that out. And there's always benefits to that. But I don't let my past anymore get in the way of, my dreams for the future.
Yeah. Well, your past, it's kept you hungry for a lot of years. Barry, your neighbor over there, he told me one time, he says, listen, I can still smell the lobby of the project that I lived in Brooklyn. He goes, I went in there 5 years ago, when my parents were, I was getting them out of there. He's like, and I could still smell exactly the same. And that smell motivated me because I never wanted to go back to that.
Yeah, there's nothing like, you remember these little things. I saw the refrigerator light as a kid. That's because it was empty and I was starving. And I tell people all the time, like, I was just hungry. My childhood was survival and hunger. And now every night before I go to bed, I open up that refrigerator. I'm like, wow, I can't believe I have all this food. Although sometimes I wish I didn't have quite as much food because
I know, right?
I don't
What to do in the morning.
I think, listen, I think everyone's childhood could be a disadvantage. You have too much, your parents were too soft, they were too easy. Then you got the kids where the parents were too hard, or the kids that don't have anything. I think it's just about the decision you want to make, and you got to be careful. I always say you got these different voices going on in your head. There's an orchestra going on in your head. The difference is you're the conductor, and you decide which voices get a voice. And I've now, especially since meeting you, Dana, I've definitely fired a few voices. Like, I don't give certain voices any votes. Like, the voices that say, go eat the black and white cookie, let's go get some ice cream. That voice got fired.
Yeah.
The voice that says, Brandon, like, you have enough. Like, maybe you don't really want to work. Like, that voice is, I haven't quite fired him, but minimal speaking lines. And the voice that just wants to do things that I know I shouldn't be doing, that voice is, I got rid of a long time ago. So you got to be careful, like, because you are the orchestra, conductor of all these voices. And it's really important that you make sure you listen to the right voices. And we all got different voices in our head that are going on. And it's amazing. A lot of times those voices have been with you since you're a kid. Yeah. And you got to be careful, with the conversation you have, because you could talk yourself right out of a dream. And you can talk yourself right into a dream. And you got to be careful what you're saying to yourself, because usually whatever you're saying to yourself, more than likely is going to come true.
Yeah. What would you say, you fired all these voices, but today, you're starting this new company, Collectible Exchange, Steiner Agency. What voices are you listening to? Because you're essentially back in a startup mode, I
want to fire that voice. I actually want to fire that voice that I listen to. That idiot. What I would say is that I think you got to remember that regardless of how much success you've had, and maybe even more so, it's even harder, that anything you're starting, whether it's a diet that you've never had before, or starting workout weights, which you've never done before, or a new business, it's freaking hard.
Yeah.
And I mean, hard meaning like, you better be prepared to wake up early, get up a little nervous. You're going to start hitting some trials and tribulations again. And, you're starting something new. You're throwing away the comfort part of your game. And you're moving into discomfort, which is always going to be confusing, but the only way you could grow. So what I say is, I know this is hard, but I decided to do it. I have nobody to blame but me. And what I would say is, life is difficult, man. So the faster I recognize and remember that starting a business is difficult. So when difficulty comes up, I'm like, I knew this was going to be difficult. It doesn't become such a shattering, mind-blowing thing. Like this whole virus thing, I'm like, I'm bummed. I mean, I'm going a little stir crazy, but life is difficult. Like, I didn't think that this planet I was going to live on and everything was going to, with no wars, no viruses. I mean, think about the people that went through back in 1917 or one of the world wars. Think about how life and how hard it was for them. So life is difficult. It's full of a whole bunch of knuckleball and curveballs. But the more you accept that life is difficult, outside of any of the outside stuff that you really can't control, when these things pop up, you're more likely to be able to deal with them in a more positive way, because most of these things will pass. It's just about how you absorb them, how you deal with it. I mean, and the sooner you realize, like, if you think life is going to be somewhat easy without any complications, without trauma, without any tragic deaths or sicknesses, that's not the life on this planet.
Yeah, it's that reminds me of Norman Vincent Peale. You know, he said, you know, I meet all these people and they say that they don't want any problems. So I give them an address in the Bronx, you know, to the cemetery. If you don't want any problems, they'll go there. There's no problems. Well, I don't want that. I don't want that. So you're always going to face something.
I think so. I think, you know, it comes and goes, and certainly we all want a lot of our lives back. But I think we all know that anything great that's happened to us, not everything, but a lot of the great things that have happened to us started with something bad or something really difficult or something traumatic. So I'm hoping that this leads us to a little bit of a reset. Yeah. You know, talking about this environment right now, but even when you talk about your fitness and your health, and you know, which is really the core to becoming a champion, because to get the clarity, energy that you need, particularly consistency over a long period of time, you must have strength, energy, a good diet, which gives you clarity in your mind to have the vision you need. You've got to be eating well most of the time, exercising most of the time, and doing those kinds of things, you know, sleeping enough. So like for me, I don't look at working out anymore to lose weight. I understand that if I want to lose weight, I have to eat less, eat smarter. I work out more for my mental health because, you know, I have a lot of ADHD issues and I've got a lot of anxiety stuff. And if I don't work out, then that extra anxiety and energy has nowhere to go, and it starts getting into some negative places. So, you know, everybody's got different things going on, and the more faster you get accustomed to where your body is, it'll lead you to the right place. And then the diet is complicated. And now you've been able to help me so much over time with diet, because that's what gives you the clarity and the energy to be extraordinary. You must be able to rely on your energy and your stamina. And I think a lot of times people underestimate because they have a great week or they have a great couple months. But when you're eating really right and sleeping right, you'd be surprised, you know, to get on a great run, you need, you know, it's usually a few years, you know, it's a 3 or 4 year run if you want to keep it all together.
I think what you've done well too is you've scheduled it. You've said, hey, this is now how I start my day. I start my day with my training so I can go into my day, you know, in attack mode with a good mindset and feeling good about myself. Because the one thing I always tell people is, hey, when you work out, when you're done, how do you feel? How do you feel about yourself at the root level? You feel good. You invested. You made a great investment right when you got up in the morning. Now you can go take on the day, because most people didn't do that. So you're at now in a competitive advantage.
I look at two things. On my diet, I want to have a baseball championship record, you know, 28 meals a week. I want to go 22-6. That's going to get me to the World Series. You know, I basically want to be able to eat really, really well most of my meals. I know I'm going to get a little sidetracked maybe on 4 or 5. And then between the extra workouts and stuff, that usually compensates. And I think on the working out thing, I think that you got to make the most important thing your favorite thing. It's one of my favorite ways to look at working out. So like, I hated lifting weights. I hated working out. I wasn't usually a big workout. I played basketball, tennis, some other things, but I never got in the gym and worked out. So what I did is I got my favorite t-shirts. I just ordered 8 new Michael Jordan, Air Jordan t-shirts.
Were they gray? Were they gray?
Of course. I mean, there's no question. I only wear gray. I have over 60 or 70 gray t-shirts. Now, some of them were getting old, so I got replenished. I got the best shorts. I probably over 500 pairs of shorts. I've got the best sneakers. I've got a great flat screen. I've got my music queued up to all my favorite music because I'm busy and I love music. So I get back to my music, or if there's a particular show I want to watch. So I look forward to going to work out. I've got all my favorite stuff. I can't wait. You know, because I'm 60. Like, I can't wear all this cool workout stuff because people are like, what is this guy wearing? But I can wear whatever I want. Yeah. So I go to the gym. I'm wearing all my favorite stuff. I got my best music on. I got my cool sneakers on, and I'm ready to go. And I use it as a time to also think. I got a nice pad and paper. So it's my thinking time, which I know is really important to think out of the box. And I make my most important stuff my favorite thing to do. And you'd be surprised. Like, I don't miss many days. I'm getting on the, treadmill or elliptical and then lifting some weights and whatever I got to do.
Well, and how many guys do you meet that are 60 or in their 60s and they go stale? They don't buy the new t-shirt. They don't buy the new hat. They're not testing out the new glasses. They're not starting a new company. They're sort of just, winding.
They're ready to die.
They're getting ready to die, right?
I'm just starting to live. Like, I mean, what the hell, man? Especially this last month, I went into my closet. I'm like, I'm breaking everything out, man. I mean, nobody's even going to see me. Now there's no chance even somebody visiting the house to see me. So I've been able to wear everything. But I think what happens is, what people have to realize that, and this is where you have to really get going at 50, really. But, when you're 50 to 60, the paint is not dry. I mean, most of us are going to live to 80, 85. So you got to get excited about reinventing yourself and know that you want to take this last haul of 25, 30 years and not be in doctor's offices in a hospital. And that's what motivates me. I'm like, shit, if I don't do this and I don't get serious about it, now, of course, there's always an outside chance that I get hit by a bus. And that's going to really hurt, by the way. That's going to be painful. But I'm like, I don't want to be in doctor's offices for diabetes and high blood pressure and this problem and that problem. And unless I get serious about working out and eating right and doing the right things, I'm going to be there. So many of my friends are stint in their heart. They got high blood pressure. They got diabetes. Like, I want no part of that. I don't want to visit any hospitals unless I absolutely have to. And the way to avoid that is take care of business and run your body like a business. And if most of my 6-year-old friends, they're running their body like a business, they'd be bankrupt.
Yeah, I love that.
Out of business.
I steal that line from you all the time, and I say, are you living a life that is bankrupt? And so many people are, and they don't even realize it. They're just on this wheel, and they're on the wheel, and then all of a sudden it's like, boom, heart attack. Wow, I got to get in shape. Or, there's always that event that sort of shakes them, but it doesn't have to come to that.
It doesn't have to come to that, but if it does, take the side. If you believe in God, and sometimes, a lot of us, man, we get stubborn about certain things, and then, a sign comes, and, all of a sudden, we're at the doctor or something dramatic happens, and be blessed that you get the sign, if that somebody comes to you or something happens, and it gives you the wake-up call that maybe working 16 hours a day at the age of 60. I have a friend that's a doctor, like, who had to put a stent in his heart. And he's a relatively healthy guy, not completely, but I'm like, hey, you think you can wake up at 5 a.m, operate all day, work 5-6 days a week? Really? I mean, what made you think you can keep doing this? Like, and, he's starting to slow down. He's starting to, get a little more balance, and he's looking a lot healthier. It doesn't take much to make the adjustment, but, change, Dana, change. It ain't easy.
I know. It's, what's so crazy. If you were to just take an hour a day and invest it in your physical health, over the course of the month, let's say that's 30 hours, you would dramatically change how your body operates and feels. Yet people refuse to take that time. It's an hour. Like, think about how many hours you waste in a day, or texting, or, communicating with people you'd rather not communicate with.
How many people go to you and say, I don't have time? Now I just say, can I tell you something? If you're giving me that excuse, then you probably got a bunch of other excuses. So why don't you give them all now? But listen, if I have a 7 o'clock in the morning flight to go somewhere, then I get up at 4 a.m, get my hour workout in. I don't use. I was in Germany last year. I got up at 4:30 and 5 a.m, worked out, and did my whole day of tour. I don't use anything to get in the way of what I know is the most important thing. And people are like, wow, we had to be on this bus at 6:30 a.m. You worked out already? Yeah. It's a decision and a mental mindset that I said, yeah, I'm going to go to bed a little earlier, and I'm going to get up a little earlier than you did. And here I am. I'm fine. But people always use an excuse to get in the way. And again, that's that little voice. Hey, you got to wake up early, so I guess you can't work out. I'm like, no. And I do that again, because I know mentally if I'm going to go touring all day in Europe, I know that I'm going to be better off and a better mindset if I've gotten a good, firm, cardio in. So I try.
Yeah, I think nothing to lose.
Nothing to lose. I think the last book that I wrote, Living on Purpose, which I definitely stole a lot of your stuff, by the way.
There's the plug.
Yeah, thank you. But I've stolen a lot of your stuff. But at the end of the day, especially on the exercise part, because it is complicated to get the balance in your life, to get it all done. But the way to do it, and the thing I learned most from you, Dana, is simple. Keep it simple. get it into nuggets stuff that you can accomplish. And, make sure you're getting X amount of rigorous cardio in a week. Yeah. If you don't do anything else, get at least 3 or 4 days of rigorous cardio in 30, 40 minutes a day.
Yeah, get that heart pumping every day if you can. And what I find interesting is you've been doing it now so long that it's probably just become a part of your routine. It's like going down and eating breakfast. This is a part of it's just part of your life. You don't have to force it.
It's like breathing.
Yeah, which is awesome. I mean, I know we're a little derailed now with Wednesday night basketball, but
no, that's a double workout on Wednesdays. That's all. I get the 6 workouts in a week. I've started cutting back a little bit, but I'll get 6 workouts in a week. I take 1 day off a week, and then once a week sometimes I'll get the 2 workouts in. And now I've been doing basketball workouts, so sometimes I'll even get a few days where I do a double workout in. But my body can handle it. But what I love is my high is when I go to the park and I'm playing with all the young ones, the teens, guys in their teens and their 20s. Now, granted, I do bring some ringers, but they're like, damn, old school. How are you able to run with us? I said, dude, don't leave me open. And I love that. There's nothing better than to be able to kind of carry yourself and be able to, hang with some of the young ones. And I love going into the park, like in the Bronx or in the city, an old schoolyard, boom boxes. People, these guys are drinking beer in between games. I don't know how they do it.
Yeah.
And then I go on there and start dropping in shots and getting up and down the court. And these guys come up to me like, damn, how old are you, man? I'm like, 60. And I just schooled you. And they're like, damn. I said, are you going to be able to play at 60? You may want to start thinking. I know you're only 20. You may want to start thinking about it. And those are the things I tell my friends. It's like, listen, if you're not going to do it for yourself, what are you going to be like? Are you going to be around for your kid's wedding? What are you going to look like in that wedding that your grandkids and their grandkids can be looking at that picture for years to come? Yeah. Are you going to be able to keep working into your 60s? Are you going to even be able to get up out of bed and walk up a flight of stairs?
Yeah, it's
and
true.
I say that kiddingly, but a lot of people work their way out of work. They work their way out of work.
Yeah, there's a lot of people 60, 65 years old that are sort of just breaking down, and they feel their body going, and they just believe that that's what's supposed to happen as you get older. I'm getting older. I have to now rock to get off the couch. How they get that little momentum rock, and then they lift. Now when you go out to dinner with people like this, you can see all these things, and you say, man, I still play basketball Wednesday night. I'm still competitive, and I think too, the fact that you compete every week, you compete on the court, you compete in the morning when you train, and then you're now in business, you compete. And for me, now that I work with a lot of folks in business, I try to tell them, like, business is a competitive event, and you can't forget that. It's a competitive sport.
Is there anything better than winning? Even if you're winning with yourself, the battle you have with yourself, or when you get to still compete on a tennis court or golf or basketball, there's nothing more fun. I love winning. I still love winning it in 3-on-3 or 4-on-4 or 5-on-5 game. And you got to put yourself in position to enjoy the thing that's most fun, which is competing. And you got to remember, stress is fattening, and stress takes a toll on its body. And unless you're compensating for that, you're headed for a short life, unfortunately. And there's no reason for it. You got to alleviate all the stupid ways you could die. You know what I mean? We're all going to die. It's 100%.
There's a lot of them.
But you don't want to, listen, if I go across the street and some bus driver is out of his mind drunk and he runs my ass over, it's going to hurt. But, I mean, it's no fault of mine. I mean, it happens. Sometimes you're just part of maybe bad luck. But you don't want to die a stupid death where, if you just took a little better care of yourself, you could have lived another 5 or 10 years. If you would have gone to the doctor to get your yearly checkup and, got your colonoscopy, got your skin checked once a year, every now and then do a nuclear stress test on your heart, do those obvious no-brainer things, and at least you alleviate the stupid death.
Yeah. We can't have that. I found that one of my favorite lines in your book is, don't just focus on what you're eating, but focus on what's eating you. And I think people today, they're getting eaten up.
And you can't underestimate that, because first of all, that's fattening as all hell.
Yeah.
I don't think your body's it's not taking its toll. And I've learned now, again, life is difficult. Business is difficult. If you get your arms around that, understand it, when difficulty comes your way, you'll be much better prepared to deal with it, because you'll be expecting it and you'll understand it. And I think it's really important. I've learned that in business. Like some guy sued me. I'm like, oh my God, can you believe what this guy's doing? He's suing me. He's killing me. I'm like, something, business is difficult. And sometimes part of business and part of making a lot of money and being on the radar is somebody coming to you with some crazy, stupid lawsuit. That's part of the deal. So lawyer, please take care of this and we'll see how it resolves. But as fast as you are to make the money, part of the expense is paying an accountant, having a lawyer take care of some of your problems. And a lot of people get stressed out of things that are just not under their control, but it does come with the territory, which is why business and life is difficult.
Yeah, and you got to train for it. That's why sometimes I laugh at a lot of the things that I hear when even like motivational speakers talk to companies and they tell everyone, well, just hug each other and love each other and it'll be okay. And it's like, guys, this is serious business. Business is very, very serious. And we got to treat it that way because it could be amazing. But I did have a business question for you because I think a lot of people wonder about this. You've been in business for a long time. You've been through a lot of ups and a lot of downs. The business climate today versus when you started, what would you say the biggest differences are?
Well, obviously, customer service is kind of a lost art, and more online business leads to less and less customer service, which is a concern of mine. The personal touch. I think that's one of the first things that come to mind. And I think certainly the marketing and promoting is much different. I mean, there is no more taking an ad out in the New York Times or taking a commercial out on a highly watched TV show, because there's 10,000 TV shows and who knows who's watching what, when, where. So, I think marketing has become incredibly difficult. And I like to think of myself as a great marketer, to be honest with you. I do market great, but I realize that there isn't any more one solution to being a great marketer. You got to wear a lot of hats. You got to respect youth and the way they need to have the story told. And there's still your baby boomers who carry a very serious amount of the wealth in this country, Dana. And you got to respect an older audience and communicate with them. I tell people all the time, like, oh man, you're still watching the 11 o'clock news. And the only reason I say that is because I'm still watching it. But if you ask a 25 or 30-year-old, why would you ever watch the 11 o'clock news? Anything on there has already been online for hours. So I think, the marketing is a very tricky game. And if you're a company and you've got a bunch of different products, you probably have a 40 or 50-year-old CMO and probably a 22-year-old CMO. It gives you, there really isn't one. I mean, I really struggle, but I keep a 25-year-old in my pocket because there's definitely a bunch of different views. And I think the last thing that's really complicated about business now is your communication with employees and trying to keep things honest and fair, and just how to deal with employees and what employees expect as far as the working at home, which was never anything up until about 4, 5, 6 years ago. And now it's become real common, and what benefits employees expect, what you can say to employees. You have to be really, really careful. It's a shame in some cases, and it's it's painful sometimes, but it's really important in others where people have been abusive and saying certain things. And, I probably have said some things that in the past I wish I hadn't said. I didn't mean them to be mean, but I think there's a lot of sensitivity about how you discipline employees and how you treat employees. And maybe now the pendulum has almost gone too much now on the employee side, where it was definitely uneven and employees were, bosses were maybe too hard and too difficult. And that's what drives a lot of CEOs to retire, is their inability to effectively get their employees to do what they want. And it's really hard now to motivate and get trust and confidence in your staff to get them to do what you want and what the company wants. It takes a huge effort and a lot of leadership.
Yeah, no, I can see that. I hear a lot of the stories from the CEOs, but for you, now that you're running this new business, Collectible Exchange, I remember when it was just an idea and you sort of are kicking it around. And I feel like I was with you when you were sort of in that phase of, am I going to do it? Should I do it? Okay, I'm doing it. What has it been like, going into, again, this sort of startup mode and building something new, in your 60s and just showing up every day to grind? Like, what are some?
It's been hard. I mean, it's been difficult, and I still get up at a lot of mornings and go, I wonder if I should still be doing this. But I think it's everything that I preach and talk about with entrepreneurship is, you have an idea, you're dead set on it, but it's, can you get your head on a swivel? And as much as I am convicted about my idea and what I'm creating, like with this website, I know that I have to stay flexible, and I'm trying to think of the things that I hadn't thought of, and being open to the things and seeing things that maybe I never even saw or heard of. And that's the difficult part, is picking and choosing the things that you need to do to get your site on track, just like any other business, because there is no more opening up your store on the corner and everybody comes running. Like, you know, you open up a website, but, you know, getting traffic and communicating your message is really difficult. It takes quite an effort, and it takes a lot of money, more than I actually thought. So it's very competitive out there. I mean, there's a lot of people doing a lot of things. I think entrepreneurship is at its highest level I've ever seen it. So small business is looking bright for the future, though I'm worried about this virus and hoping that, you know, it doesn't derail us too much. Yeah. But, you know, it's been challenging, to say the least. I mean, and I still have a good name and reputation in this business, so I have a little bit of a head start, you know, having done everything I've done in the collectible business, and it's still incredibly challenging. So, you know, listen, you got to be ready to run up a very steep hill, and then as soon as you get up there, there'll be another hill to climb. So you got to be prepared for that kind of run and that kind of haul, and it's not for everyone.
Yeah, and that's a good point. It's not for everyone. I feel a lot of people out there, they dog like the day-to-day job of working for a company, but, you know, companies provide great opportunities for people as well. And entrepreneurship is certainly not for everybody.
Exactly. There's a lot of ways to win, and there's a lot of entrepreneurship within a company. If you want to go the extra distance, you want to go the extra miles, and that's stuff that maybe gets you the corner office. And there's a lot of benefits to that too. You know, you could be entrepreneurial, not to the same extent maybe as doing your own thing, but you could be pretty entrepreneurial within a company. In many cases, if you set the tone and have the communications with your bosses, a lot of times they'll give you some leeway to try some new things.
Yeah. Now you have a great quote that I've always enjoyed about sampling. So if you want to sample something, you know the quote I'm talking about?
Yeah, it's, you know, I always say dream big, sample small, and fail quick. And, you know, most importantly, don't be SOS, and, you know, don't be stuck on stupid. Just because you dream big, you came up with a great idea, doesn't mean you're going to succeed. And don't be stuck, you know, don't get so caught up. I mean, I do believe, you know, you got to be resilient, but being resilient to a point. Sometimes your idea just sucks. Yeah. Sometimes you just got to move on. So, you know, I love the idea of dreaming big. That's always what will lead you to, you know, not willing to accept where you're at. It leads you to commitment. I mean, dreaming big leads you to so many things, passion and all kinds of stuff. But, you know, I've learned over the course of time that, you know, sampling, so that you know that there's some reality to your dream. And then, you know, sometimes you got to fail quick. You know, you can't hang on to these dreams and stuff when they're not measuring up. So you ask for help, and always ask for an outside opinion that's objective. And sometimes they can help you come up with what the obvious situation is. But sometimes you do have a good idea. You just need a little help, and some outside source can get you there. And then sometimes it's just plain as day that your idea just is not something that you could execute, and you got to move on to the next thing. There are many, many great entrepreneurs that have failed many times, and then on the 4th, 5th try, you know, hit their luck. So, yeah, you know, you got to balance it, and you got to be prepared. And if you're prepared to win big, be prepared to lose big.
Yep. You know, it's amazing as an entrepreneur, sometimes you just get stuck. I know for me, you know, I opened a bunch of different gyms, and I remember we were training one day, and I was talking about how they were struggling and they were killing me. And you're like, well, just close it. And that was the one idea I never thought of. Just close it. And then right from there, it was like, close. It just became easy, but you need somebody to coach you to say, hey, dummy, you know you can close it, right?
We all make a bigger thing out of our mistakes and losses than what the outside people think. You know, we always over-dramatize our losses and under-dramatize our victories. So when you're competing and you think you're about closing something, you think about failing. Did you think you were going to open up and go, you know, I always tell my pitcher when I was coaching Little League, like, gives up 2 runs in the first inning. Like, did you think you were going to pitch a shutout? This is like one of the best teams we're playing. But if you can bear down and hold this team to, you know, pitch to your best, we'll score 3 runs for you. And I think it's like true with business. Like, you're not going to open up a whole bunch of businesses and not fail in any of them. And maybe you fail on the first one, so it takes a little bit of a jolt out of you. But you know, you were competing, and you didn't realize like part of competing and part of wanting to win is also absorbing the losses.
Yeah.
You know, losing is not the opposite of winning. Losing's a big part of winning. And the faster you can absorb those losses, make sure you gain out of that, you know, make sure you get the lessons and the things why you went wrong, the faster you're going to grow and go.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. I was talking to Mo a few months ago. He said that. He said, listen, if you don't fail, you're not competing at your highest level. You have to be ready to fail. It's just a part of the success game.
And I would remind Mo of that, because every time he would fail, I would call him up at 6 or 7 o'clock the next morning and try to wake him up and just, you know, just see if he was okay. Everything all right? Because I don't know if that ball that you pitched to give up the winning home run has landed yet. And then, you know, click, you'd hang up on it. But there's nothing like having some accountability police around you to remind you, to keep you humble.
Oh, yeah.
So I'd always remind him of his failures. I have a list of them all. Yeah, I love reminding him of that. My wife has a list of all mine, by the way.
That's right. Mine's working on her list too. You know,
Yeah.
Newlyweds, we're still getting our list built. It's getting longer by the day, especially during the quarantine.
Wife's have incredible memories. They remember every screw up you ever had, and it's amazing how they pull them out right at the right time.
Yeah, no, exactly. Well, my last question for you is this, because I'm all about champions, building champions. What would you say what does the word champion mean to you?
The word champion means to me is that somebody who's not willing to stop at success, somebody who's not just willing to do pretty good, but they're willing to do whatever it takes, and they're willing to do everything it takes, and they're not willing to stop. They're completely committed to process, and making progress in process will lead you way past success, because your ultimate goal in being a champion is to be the best, and it's to be extraordinary. And extraordinary is the people that are extraordinary, businesses that are extraordinary, are the businesses and the people that people remember. And if you want to be remembered for being a champion, then you got to be extraordinary, and you can't settle for just success and doing a good job. You want to do the best job that's ever been done. You want to be the best at what you do. And it takes a tremendous amount of effort, usually for a decently long period of time. So you got to have the stamina.
I love it. Awesome. Brandon, thank you. As always, I miss you.
Great seeing you, my brother.
When I get up there, I'm going to come see you. I promise.
You've been saying it. I hope to
I know.
see you.
I haven't been able to get up there. I've been stuck down here.
Well, it's a good place to get stuck. Florida's a great place. Thanks for having me, and stay safe, stay healthy, everybody.
Thanks, Brandon.
All right, man. Talk to you, buddy.
See ya.